Welcome back to r/LegalAdvice, where we read surprisingly interesting stories that usually don't end in a cliffhanger. If you are new to my channel, please feel free to subscribe to join our awesome community, and without any further ado, let's dive right in. And the first one is titled, "Just moved into a new house, previous tenant used extra key to rob me. Is landlord responsible?" I just moved into a new house this weekend in Philadelphia, and yesterday after finishing moving in, I went out to celebrate. While I was gone, the previous tenant let himself into the house and took about $500 worth of items. I have a nice older neighbor who sits outside a lot, so I asked her if she had seen anyone come into the house while I was out. She said the guy who used to live here came by shortly after I left, was friendly and said hello to her and told her he was just picking up a few things he forgot. She assumed this was all cleared with me since he was so open and friendly, so she did not think anything of it. My question is whether the landlord is responsible for not securing the house. Is it enough for him to just collect the keys that he gave to the previous tenant? There would be no way of knowing whether they made copies. Are landlords required to rekey or install new locks between each tenant? I do not feel comfortable knowing that at least one person, possibly more, has the key to my house and is willing to use it to rob me. I have already sent an email to the landlord requesting that he rekeys the lock immediately. I am also wondering if the landlord is retroactively responsible for the items that were stolen from me since he failed to secure the house. It was $200 cash and a laptop worth about $300. I don't have a TV yet and I had my phone with me, so there was not anything else valuable for him to steal. I do have renter's insurance, but the deductible is $500, so I'm not going to file a claim. And guys, I'm curious what you think about this situation, but in my opinion, the landlord is definitely responsible. Nonetheless, a person in the comments suggested, file a police report and sue the thief. If the landlord won't change your lock, change the lock yourself and send your landlord the bill. Another person said, filing a police report, even if you don't get satisfaction suing the guy, he was a thief, right? Worthy enough of a police report, especially since there was a witness. And now an update to the landlord's story. My landlord called me after reading my email. He was really shocked that the previous tenant did this, said the guy did not have any criminal background and was not shady or anything. Whether that is true or not, I don't really care because my landlord is awesome and made everything right. He is coming over tonight to install a completely new doorknob and deadbolt set, and said he plans to have a locksmith rekey it between tenants from now on. He went to the old tenant's new apartment and confronted him. The guy claimed he thought it was his and it was an honest mistake and gave it back to my landlord. I call bullcrap because the house was completely empty when I moved in. This guy knew he did not leave anything behind, but whatever. The guy apparently also said he did not take any cash, but my landlord told me to just take $200 off the rent next month because he feels partly responsible for not changing the locks and does not want me to feel bad about my new place right off the bat. Now, I told all of this to a friend at work who thinks the landlord was in on it and is just trying to fix it now so I don't report it. He thinks it's too good to be true that the landlord could get the laptop back that quickly and then be so generous to just give me $200 of his own money. My friend is kinda paranoid, so I'm taking that with a grain of salt. Maybe he's right, but my gut says this was just a bad tenant and a good landlord taking a small financial hit in order to have a happy tenant. I'm really happy with how everything turned out. I will be setting up a little hunting camera pointing at my front door so that if the landlord does end up being shady, I will catch it if he comes in or anything. But for now, I'm going to trust my gut and believe he's a good dude. Thanks everyone for all your advice, I learned a lot. And guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this landlord? Do you think he was in on it? To me, it definitely seemed like something shady was going on. But either way, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. Thank you so much in advance. And the next one is titled, Parents took and sold my car and won't tell me who to. What is the best step to take from now? First, some background. I no longer get along with either of my parents. I won't go more into it than it is not reconcilable because of serious abuse. I bought a car when I was 16 and still living with them, and they believe that makes it theirs. Title and everything was originally in my mother's name but was transferred into my name for 3 years now. It is mine and only my car. When the family split, my parents tried to call in what they called debts of a minor, which they tried to convince me was a legal term, saying if I took my support away from them, then they had the right to recall all money involved in raising me. And straight away that sounds like a ton of bullcrap. But anyway, I went away for 2 weeks in September and left my car with my brother, who I still get on well with. He is still in contact with my parents. They visited him a couple of times while I was away, and on the last visit they stole the keys to the car from him and drove off with it. My brother told me immediately and I said I would deal with it when I got back. It happened a few days before I was to get back. I went to my parents to get my car and they said they had sold it, and the $8,000 they sold it for was to go towards a debts of a minor, and they informed me I now have only about $180,000 to go before I have paid them off. I called the police immediately to report it stolen, and they seemed to prefer to listen to my parents, who said the title was in their name. I have title in my name, however. Advice from the police was to work it out between ourselves. Useless. So where I am stuck now is I have no car, I have no keys to it, it is out there somewhere, and my parents refuse to tell me where it is. It is my car and I can prove it. Who do I prove it to in order to have it retrieved? Are the police right in that I have to beg the people who took my car, my parents, to give it back? Is this a job for a lawyer or court, or escalating it with police? I've never had to deal with the legal system before. Update: I went to the station in person and got a lot further with different officers who asked what happened before with the other officer and rolled their eyes when I said his name. I have my brother fully on site and we both made statements. I've contacted my insurance as well. And guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no way that something like debts of a minor exists which would allow the parents to demand money back that they supposedly used for raising the OP. Anyway, let me know your thoughts about this crazy case in the comments. And to add to that, a user in the comments also mentioned, debts of a minor? You realize you have no obligation if you are older than 18 to financially pay them back, right? They can kick you out and cut off any monetary support they have for you, but you don't have to pay your parents back for raising you. Also, if they sold the car in your name and the title was in your name, go to the police station with that and refile that it has been stolen. Just bring the proof. Also, if you do not have the title and it is in your name, you can obtain a duplicate via this website. And the next one is an update to the parents took the car story. All I needed was a more with it police officer. I went in person with all the documentation proving that my car is my vehicle and with my brother, and stated clearly that my car had been stolen and sold and we knew who did it. The officer I dealt with this time treated everything seriously and listened to us both. I had my car back within 2 days. My parents had taken it and hadn't sold it like they claimed, but were renting it to someone they knew. The car was retrieved from the rentee's house. I had not yet made a claim on it, so it was returned to me the day after retrieval. My mother has been charged and I've also been questioned about my parents' drug use. I'm over the moon that what they did trying to rip me off has shown a light on more of their behavior. I am still trying to gain clarity with my insurer about possible internal damage to the engine or transmission and having that thoroughly checked out, but that is beside the point. As a bonus, this was the last straw for my brother. He had been still living under our parents' thumb, and this gave him enough reason to also cut them off and commit to acting against them. I have my car back and my brother back more than I did before. And that is a surprisingly wholesome ending, if I may say so. However, what would you guys have done if your parents stole your car? Let us know in the comments. And the next one is titled Netherlands Sexual Harassment Before Even Signing a Work Contract, as in during job interview with international company. Do I have any rights? I'm angry and pretty much in shock. A summary I feel comfortable sharing. During my first interview, my interviewer, the owner of the small company, my boss-to-be, touched me very inappropriately. I brushed his hand away, but otherwise pretended nothing happened because I was in shock and really did not know what else to do. Then I was soon offered the job and had to meet up with the guy again to iron out some details, at which point I decided to talk about the issue instead of walking away from the job I really wanted. I figured everyone makes mistakes and maybe it was something that could be sorted out. Well, seems I was wrong. Boss-to-be touched me very inappropriately, told me he loves me, and when I point blank told him I had absolutely no interest in him, he criticized my body. If I had a contract with the company, I could sue for sexual harassment, I guess, but since I don't, do I have any legal rights to sue or report him to anyone, and if so, to whom? The company has no HR department. Do I have any rights, and if so, what rights in this case? Or is my only option to walk away, leaving him to put someone else through the same horrible experience? Thanks. Update: in the Netherlands, what happened in my case is indeed assault, and it is a criminal, not a legal case, so I cannot sue, but I can press charges, which could result in the guy's arrest. A user in the comments asked, are you interested in filing charges for assault? This is not merely harassment. Then OP said, I'm not really sure what the difference is really, mainly I would like to make sure he does not do the same to someone else. The experience has been more draining than I could have imagined. Then another person said, disclaimer, I know nothing about Dutch law, so this may not apply. In the US, if you sued the company, it would be in a civil court rather than a criminal one. You might be able to get a financial settlement or something, but no, or would be arrested. Lawyers would be involved rather than the police. It would essentially be a matter between you and the company. If you called the police though, the incident would be treated as a criminal matter and the assaulter would or might be charged with a crime because he broke the law. It would essentially be a matter between you, the individual guy, and the police, not the company. Or you could choose to do both. And guys, if you were in this horrible situation, what would you do? Let us know in the comments. And next we will read the update to the Netherlands story. Hi all, I hope it's okay to post this here. I just want to say a big thank you to this community. I cannot find my original post since I deleted my older account, but more than a year ago I posted on here asking for advice about sexual harassment during a job interview, and some of you told me that what I had described was more than harassment, that it was assault. By that time I had already taken the job for many reasons I won't go into, and thinking that something bad could not possibly happen again, don't judge, the therapists and social workers explained how my reaction was in fact normal. Trouble is, the man sexually assaulted me again and also hit me. Now that is where you guys come in. Commenters on here had suggested I talk to my boss about all that happened and tell him what he did was not okay, but said I should do this all in writing, which I did. Lo and behold, since the police refused to talk to the witnesses who were present, I could not believe it either. It was the written messages you suggested I write that proved my case. So, thank you. But wait, there's more. After the incidents I was broken and could not work for 6 months. During that time, and because of the comments on here, plus the insane amounts of alcohol I found myself consuming, I did some research online and came across various resources for victims of sexual assault, which helped me rebuild enough of my dignity to keep going. Rebuilding myself is an ongoing process. But my gut told me to press charges, and so I did. And check this, the man was taken to court. Turned out he had violated another woman not a year before he assaulted me, and had I not pressed charges, he would not have been taken to court unless he assaulted someone else, and they decided to press charges. So I think it's not presumptuous to thank you on behalf of the other woman. As for the verdict, given everything I've seen here in the Netherlands, I was not expecting much, but I felt I had won a battle on behalf of victims everywhere simply by having my case taken seriously, and another when I learned he was going to be taken to court. The fact that he was found guilty comes as a bonus even if his punishment is a couple weeks community service. And yep, that's it, a little community service. Again, thank you for your help. And I'm curious, maybe we have some Dutch people in the comments who can explain why the punishment for this is so low. A few weeks of community service seems absolutely outrageous considering what the man did. But anyway, let us know in the comments if you can. And the last one is titled New Landlord Hates Privacy. Help. I recently found myself needing a month-to-month lease for between 6 months to 14 months in Baltimore, which I was unfamiliar with. The apartment I found is a small efficiency in an older building. They agreed to a standard lease for the first 6 months, followed by month-to-month lease. I was to be the first tenant. When I toured it 6 weeks ago, workers were painting the rooms. The landlord's son is living upstairs, and this is my landlord's first time renting. The lease was obviously pulled from a form and seemed standard. However, there is a clause in the lease which states that I cannot install curtain rods or hooks. This seemed standard as well. I had similar at my old apartment. I assumed there would be some sort of curtain provided, and this was in regards to the additional curtains. I moved in Sunday and found the landlord had not installed curtains at all. At this point, I assumed the issue with curtains was the potential to damage to the wall. So I bought tension rods that require no hardware and used them to hang curtains. Monday afternoon, I got a text from my landlord saying I needed to remove the curtains. The building is on a street corner with a fair amount of foot traffic. Between the 4 windows you can see all of my apartment with the exception of the portion of the bathroom with the toilet and tub. Not only does this mean I have no privacy, but the neighborhood is slightly sketchy after dark. The nearby buildings have bars on their windows. Anyone passing by not only can see my possessions, but whether or not I am home. I expressed this to the landlord in my reply over text. He replied to reread my lease. I left them up overnight. I had orientation this morning and came back to find the curtains removed and nowhere in the apartment. I discovered this before entering the building as 2 guys were outside one of my windows and looking in my apartment. They left when I entered the building. I messaged the landlord saying he did not have the right to enter the apartment and asked for the curtains back. He again said to check my lease and then commented that I needed to finish unpacking as it looked messy in my apartment. I had to head to a work event so I could not follow through more, but I moved my electronics to one corner and used a bookshelf to block one of the windows so they were not visible. While at the event, I got a text from the landlord with a picture of the blocked window captioned, "What's this?" What can I do to prevent my landlord from entering the apartment unannounced and to compel him to allow some form of curtain? Alternatively, how do I break my lease 3 days into it? This is too crazy for week 1. And guys, I'm curious, let me know in the comments, would you have stayed in this apartment or would you have tried to break the lease? Furthermore, a person in the comments said, put paper or cardboard in the windows. If he complains, tell him to read the lease. I would also advise you to go ahead and provide whatever notice is required to move out and find another place because this guy sounds crazy. And then another person said, those privacy window films you find at Home Depot would work really well. No adhesive, just a little water and soap to help them go on and they will peel right off without damage. There are decorative ones that look like frosted glass, but I prefer the actual privacy tinted ones that still let you have a minimally obstructed view out. And now we will read the update to the privacy-hating landlord. It looks like I'm staying, but I took control of the situation. Not long after posting, it became apparent at work that the length of time I would be needed on this project is significantly lower than outside estimates originally set. Finding new arrangements seemed impossible. I mentioned what was going on at dinner, and included at the table was the company's lawyer, who I know, who offered to review the lease in an unofficial basis. Wednesday morning, I called the police about the stolen curtains because I wanted a paper trail. They gave me a police report but were uninterested in speaking to my landlord. I reported the theft to my insurance, gave them the info on who stole them, text from landlord, and they said they would be contacting someone in the city. It is only $200, but it is the point of the thing. I next bought room dividers which in no way, shape or form can be considered curtains, blinds, etc. but block the windows while still letting in light. They were only $40 each. At the same time, I searched the whole apartment, vents, lights, etc. and cannot find any cameras as someone suggested. By that time, my friend who is a lawyer called me. She did a little review of the lease and the local laws. She said Baltimore has really shaky laws on when a landlord can come in, but pointed out that in my lease there's a clause that says the landlord will notify 48 hours prior to entrance and will call prior to entering in case of emergency. She drafted me a letter to send to my landlord. Her name won't appear anywhere, but said it can be on my company's letterhead. The letter details some of my rights as a tenant, quotes the lease and reminds him he's bound by these rules as well. I signed and sent it immediately. I had mentioned wanting a security camera, and my company is arranging to have a camera sent that will automatically upload video off-site, work for an hour battery life if the electricity is out, and operates on cellular so it does not need Wi-Fi. It will be here tomorrow. I also made the decision to send my PS4 and my cameras back to my home. My personal and business laptops I will just keep with me while I am out of the apartment. This leaves the only real valuables as my TV and the security camera itself. Everything else is books, clothes and kitchen things. I ordered a sign for outside that says the property is monitored by security cameras and got a jamb for the door that holds it closed while I am inside. I am prepared for the landlord to make my life hell, but if he breaks the lease, my plan is to ask the company to move me into extended stay hotel for the duration of my trip. It will be more expensive for them, but that is company policy for trips less than 4 months. At the moment, I feel as safe as I can in this situation. Update: landlord texted me, "Sweetie, I did not think you would be like this." Responded, "I'm not your sweetie, I'm your tenant. My name is OP, please use it." Guys, I don't know how you feel about this story, but personally, I could not live in this apartment if I were in the shoes of OP. The security needed alone to make you feel safe in this case is just insane. This should not be needed for normal living in an apartment.